Okay, so the first topic we will discuss is the varactor diode. So for varactor diode, actually it's not a new concept. There is revision of what we have already learned. So this is a forward bias diode. This is V. This is P. This is N. Okay, and there is a depletion layer. The depletion layer tends to be thinner and thinner when the bias voltage is increased. On the other hand, if I connect it in reverse bias, there is a much wider depletion region. These things we have seen already. It's not new things. So as the reverse bias voltage increases, so does the depletion region width. Let's check. So is that fine? Is that fine? So the more we increase the reverse bias voltage, more is the depletion region. This much is okay. Great. Now what happens in the depletion region? What do we find in the depletion region? What do we find in depletion region? Actually, free electrons and holes, they are not found in the depletion region. Yes, that's a better option, sir. No carriers are found. Yes, right. No free charges are found. However, bound ions, they are there. So here there are negative charges from the bound ions. It is negative. Why? Because the holes which were there to neutralize this negative charge, they have moved into the N region. Similarly, here there are positive ions because the electrons which were there to neutralize them, they are moved to the P region. So here there are bound charges. These charges will not move. This negative will not go to the N region, and this positive will not go to the P region. They are strong. They are connected to the crystal structure. Fine. They will not pair. They will not move. They are from the ions. For example, what did we see? That for the P region, if there is aluminium, here there is a hole, right? And this hole can move. Now what happens if a hole moves? An electron from some other bond will come here. Correct? This we had seen in the physics chapter. If there is a hole, how does the hole move? The hole moves when another electron from any other nearby covalent bond moves to take its place, right? Now what happens to this? This has got one electron more, so it will be negatively charged. So this negatively charged is due to this. So this cannot move. Similarly, for phosphorus, if an electron moves around, then it becomes positively charged. So this charge region is formed. In the P side, there is negative charge. In the N side, there is positive charge, right? And the most important feature is that this is strongly dependent. This is strongly dependent on the bias voltage. The width of this charged region is strongly dependent on the bias voltage. If I increase the reverse bias voltage, the width increases. If we decrease the reverse bias voltage, the width decreases. Now, it is possible to find out the value of this charge using those Poisson's equation and everything. In Millman-Halkias, they have given a detailed derivation, which in first year I don't think is necessary. Okay, but it depends on W. And W depends on V. That's what we had seen, right? So, what is capacitor? Capacitance is C dQ by dV, right? So Q varies with W. and W varies with V. So this dq by dV, this is non-zero. This gives rise to a variable capacitor. And there are some diodes which are designed specifically to utilize this variable capacitance. This type of diodes, they are called varactor or varicap diodes. Both names are used. Clear? So varactor diode, the symbol is like this, and this is equivalent to a capacitor in series with a resistor, RS, C, and there is another capacitor, the resistor is very large, RR, which can be ignored. So this is all about varactor diode, at least for this level. So varactor diodes, they are designed specifically to utilize this change of capacitance with the change of reverse bias voltage. Okay. Now, can you think of some applications of this varactor diode? Where can this be used? Can you think of some circuits? Actually, some nice coincidence that this discussion can be taken to the next topic, the Q factor. Anybody can think of some application where can we use varactor diodes? Brightness control, not really. Something else, control something else, close but not exact answer. It can be used in some other part of the TV, not to the. Very good. And what type of frequency? That's a very good answer. Right. We have TV in our home, all of you. And now modern TVs, what we do? We take the remote, we change the channel. Yes, radio tuner. We change the channel, right? We do not turn into knobs anymore. We just press a button in the remote and the channel changes. How it happens? Every channel has a different frequency attached to it. Okay. And in the TV memory, we have got every channel, at least the older TVs, they have a frequency attached to it. Okay. And there is some resonance circuit at the TV, inside the TV. And the way to change the resonance of the resonance circuit is by changing either the L or the C, which I have seen in the other classes. So by using this varactor diode instead of a traditional diode, traditional capacitor, we can very easily change the frequency, because we can program that for channel 1, the bias voltage will be this much volts. For channel 2, the bias voltage is for this much volts, not very much different, some very small difference there. So pressing a different channel, we can just change the bias voltage, the capacitance will change, and the channel will change. So exactly what she told is very right. It can be, it has great application in tuning of frequency. Any other question? That is enough. I think that is enough for this varactor diode concept. Any other question you want to ask? Any other question we want to ask before I close the topic? Is it okay? Or do you have some question? There is no point in, and the net is gone. Yeah. Okay. Please allow me to share screen. Very good. Okay, so any other are there any questions, or we can move around? Move around. Uh, 1 second. Chat. Okay, no problem. Ishika asked the question. It's not even English, not related to the topic. I am making Kanish back the host because my connection can go. So Ishika can ask the question, not even even if it is not related. Other application, I at least don't know. This one is the most important. Zener breakdown. What do you don't understand? I am Kanish. Can you unmute her, Ishika? Please unmute Ishika.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Now,
Sir,
Ishika,
actually how the yes, sir. Actually how the current rises in that Zener diode.
tell
Actually
me
it
what you
has,
understand. Then I will tell you what you don't understand.
sir, I have understood that Zener diode is a heavy doped diode.
Very good.
So it has a very thin depletion there. So when the external potential is increased, then what happens that
What happens?
the breakdown causes?
There is a large electric field. Okay. This large enough electric field, it breaks, it pulls away the electrons and holes, as I just mentioned. They are bound with the ions. If there is, suppose, an aluminium, there is one hole here. Phosphorus, there is one free electron. These things we have seen, this thing we know. The interesting thing is about these things. They are tightly bound to the crystal. This and this, they can conduct very easily. But in depletion region, we find neither the hole nor the free electron. We find these electrons which are tightly bound to the crystal, and the force is so large that it will not allow the electrons to go anywhere else. Now, if the electric field is high enough, then this electric field may be strong enough to pull these electrons from the covalent bonds, these things. And if the electrons are pulled, obviously we'll get holes. Correct? So we now have all of a sudden a huge number of free electrons and holes which can conduct current. And this is the Zener breakdown. To conduct current, we need free electrons and holes. In depletion region, we don't have any. So what we do, we increase the voltage so much that the electric field, obviously see here, E is equal to V by D. And what you rightly said, for Zener diode, D is small. So for a small V, we can have a large enough E. Correct? So due to this, we have plenty of electrons and holes to conduct. So current conducts. The critical thing is that here we have to ensure that the Zener breakdown happens earlier than avalanche breakdown. In every diode, both Zener and avalanche breakdown will take place. But it is up to designer to carefully design the diode so that the Zener breakdown happens first than the avalanche breakdown. And in this in this Zener diode, making making the concentration higher, this E is made high, go high up, so that the Zener breakdown happens first than the avalanche breakdown. In normal diode also, Zener breakdown will happen at some point, but avalanche breakdown would have happened before that, so it will not be affected. Anything else? So this is how the Zener breakdown takes place. And to make that happen, what you said earlier was very right. For Zener diode, the doping concentration is larger than conventional PN diode. Anything else? Any other question? Okay. Okay. So last topic, which I didn't cover. Can you guess what it is? Anybody? Before I start. Can you guess what topic is that? Because I remember that I didn't teach you this. This is the Q factor. Did I teach you this? This has to do with resonance. Resonance I have taught you, I am sure, but Q factor probably missed. Okay. Please allow me to share the screen. Yes, Zener diode. Yes, sometimes they might tell you, but probably numericals are a bit important, bit more important. So let's go back. So this is a resonance circuit. JXL equal to J omega L, and 1 by JXC is J1 by J omega C. These things we have seen many times. And I, if this is V equal to suppose Vm sine omega t. Right? So what happens? I equal to Vm, V equal to Vc plus Vr plus Vl. And at resonance, this and this, they are equal and opposite, so they cancel out. So at resonance, V is equal to Vr. This much we have seen. Let me find the chat. Yeah. Where is the chat? What is problem? How can I see the chat and this? Okay, so this much we had seen. Now fine. This much we know that at resonance, the voltage from the source is same as the voltage at the resistor, because the voltages at the inductor and capacitor, they are not zero, by the way, they are not zero, but they cancel each other. So it behaves like a, although inductance and capacitance is present in the circuit, it behaves as a perfect resistor. So this much we remember. Okay, anybody? I think this was one of the very first notes, one of very first online classes we discussed these things. Correct? Yes. So Q factor is defined in this way. Q is equal to VL by VR is equal to VC by VR. The magnitudes of them are the same, so they can be written both ways. The voltage ratio of the voltage generated across the voltage across the inductor to the voltage resistor, or the voltage across the capacitor or voltage across the resistor. So this can be written as Q is equal to VL is what? I by, sorry, okay, 10 minutes is enough for me. Next meeting we will do something else. We will decide what. VL equal to I XL, that is I omega L. So Q can be written as, and VR is obviously IR. And I is same for all because all of them are in series. So I would be same. So Q equal to VL by VR is equal to I omega L by IR. I gets cancelled, omega L by R. Similarly, we can show that Q is equal to omega RC. Is it okay? So Q is equal to, can be written in two ways. It is equal to omega L by R or 1 by omega RC. Correct? Okay. I'm writing it here. Q is equal to omega L by R, 1 by omega RC. Now we are taking this at the resonance. Note that omega is a resonance frequency of a circuit. Q comes into play only during resonance. Okay. So what is omega? What is omega? Uh, 2 pi f. Yes, 2 pi f is right, but what is omega in terms of RL and C at resonance? 2 pi f is definitely correct. When does a circuit goes into resonance? A series circuit goes into resonance. At what frequency? At resonance, what we had seen, XL equal to XC or omega L is equal to 1 by omega C. This implies omega is equal to square root of LC. So we can replace this omega here. We can too many things. Wait. So at resonance frequency for a given circuit is omega is equal to 1 by square root of LC. So we can now replace this omega from the Q expression to here. So Q is equal to 1 by square root of LC times L by R. That is 1 by R under square root of L by C. Is it okay? This is the expression of Q in a series RLC resonance circuit. Yes, XL equal to XC, that's right. So what happens? Okay. So this is the value of, for a given RLC circuit, this is the value of Q. So what does this Q signify? Q factor is the quality factor. Okay. Quality is shorted as Q. So Q factor is quality factor. So what does this Q signify? What does a high Q mean? Perfect, clear voice. So you are telling this about the class, or you are telling this about Q factor? Energy loss is less. Actually, it's a good answer. Energy loss is less is a good answer. I don't want, I think a few minutes remaining. So I don't want screen sharing. I'm telling you. High Q means that at resonance, I is maximum. Yes, bandwidth is low. But what does that mean? Very good. Bandwidth is low is indeed a good answer. What does it mean? At resonance, I is maximum. This we had seen because impedance is minimum. And now the question is, how is the peak? The peak is sharp or not so sharp? For high Q coils, the peak is very sharp. Exactly. For low Q coils, the peak is not so sharp. It's a broader bandwidth. That it means. Okay. It's a quality factor and the sharpness of the resonance. I think that's it. So I think how much time is remaining? So we can close this meeting and start a fresh one. Okay. Thank you.